I helped a client in their 30s earn over $110,000 in dividends. That's more than the average Toronto worker makes in a year. And that is the power of dividend investing. You build a strong investment portfolio with a focus on passive income from the ground up. And in today's video, I'm going to show you what dividends are, how they work in Canada, and I'll even give you some of my favorite dividend ETFs and stocks so that you can build passive income while your portfolio builds wealth. Let's get into it. But first, what is a dividend? Everyone talks about, oh, let's build passive income by making sure you have high dividend stocks, yada, yada, yada. But do you know what a dividend is? You may or may not. And if you don't, in simple terms, a dividend is when a company pays out a portion of their profits back to shareholders. So basically, you own a stock and they say, hey, you know what? We made some nice income. We have some good cash flow. We're going to give you a dividend as a thank you, as a way of celebrating our profits with you, the shareholder. Companies have the option of just taking those profits and reinvesting it back into their company, or paying it as dividends, which is nice when they do. So here's how dividend payments work. So typically a company will pay a dividend on a quarterly basis, so that's every 3 months. So let's say you get your first payment in January, next one will be in April, after that July, after that October, and then January all over again, right? It also can change. Some companies will pay monthly, which is beautiful for cash flow. Some will pay annually, and you have the oddballs who will pay it semi-annually. To each their own. But most companies will pay on a quarterly basis just because that's how earnings work. Different story. However, you do want to check the frequency of the dividend payments when you are selecting a stock to invest in, especially if you're doing it for dividend purposes. Very, very important because that changes your whole cash flow situation. An important piece that a lot of people overlook is the ex-dividend date. This is essentially a very, very important piece of dividend investing, by the way. It is the day that you need to own the stock by in order to qualify for the upcoming dividend. So if a company says our ex-dividend date is January 13th, 2026, therefore you need to have the stock purchased by one business day before, which will be January 12th, 2026. If you buy January 13th or after, you will not be eligible for the next upcoming dividend. When you receive a dividend, you have two options on how it's going to be treated. Number two is my favorite, but number one is it comes in as cash. It either sits in your account as cash, or you can withdraw the funds, use it for passive income, pay your bills, whatever the case may be. Wait till you buy another stock, however you choose. Number two is called DRIP, and I'm not talking about my outfit right now, guys. It is the dividend reinvestment plan. This is essentially when you receive a dividend from a stock and you use the dividends to buy more of that stock. And the way this works is the company essentially allows you to buy more stocks with the dividends that you are receiving from them. Think of it like compound interest, but for the stock market, right? Your dividends is used to buy more stocks, which gets you more dividends, which then gets you more stocks again, you get the idea, okay? And the benefit is it's often done at a discount to what the stock price is trading at, as well as it comes with no commission fees whatsoever. So it's my favorite thing to do because it just compounds your stock growth, especially if you're a long-term investor. It is a beautiful, beautiful piece of building passive income and growing your wealth in an easy, simplified fashion. You can register for the dividend reinvestment plan, typically with your brokerage. It's different ways of doing it. I can go into that too in another video, or you can check out my blog posts where I describe and explain how dividend reinvestments plan work on certain popular investment platforms in Canada. Keep in mind though, dividends are not guaranteed. I often see people saying, hey, this company pays 40% dividend. I want that, which is great, but oftentimes you have to ask yourself, can they continue consistently paying this dividend over time, right? A company is more than allowed to say, hey, we're not paying dividends for the rest of the year anymore because we don't have the money to do that. That can happen. That actually happened a little bit during COVID when companies were uncertain on where the economy was going and what their bank's balance sheets was going to be looking like. So a lot of them started reducing their dividends. Some of them started cutting their dividends completely, right? So keep in mind that when you're long-term investing in dividend stocks, you want to look at the history of these companies. How long have they been paying their dividends? What does their cash flow look like? What is the balance sheet looking like? And are they a solid, strong company in the economy, right? So think of companies that are blue chip like TD, Enbridge, Bell, TELUS, any company that has a healthy financial balance sheet, that has cash flow coming in, that has been paying their dividends for years and years and years in the past, and also has been increasing the dividend amounts over time, those are the companies that you want to be considering for your long-term dividend portfolio. The next important piece is the taxation of dividends. So of course, if your dividend is in a TFSA, you're not going to be taxed on it. If it is Canadian, here's something that people forget or are not aware of. If you receive a dividend from a US company or a US ETF, there is going to be a 15% withholding tax taken right off of the source. So you will see that US withholding in your transaction history often. If it is in the TFSA, reason being, the US government, RIS, just doesn't recognize TFSAs as tax-free accounts under their legislation. Whatever, different story. However, the RRSP accounts, retirement savings plan, they do recognize those, and therefore there is no withholding tax whatsoever on dividends. Whatever dividend you get into your RRSP, it is not taxed at the source. You get 100% of that, be it Canadian, be it US, all of that stays in your account and belongs to you. If it is a non-registered account, there will be a withholding tax on the US dividends, none on the Canadian. However, you do have to pay taxes and report this on your income tax at the end of the calendar year when you're filing your tax return. The benefit of taxes in a non-registered account though is we do have something called the Canadian Dividend Tax Credit. Sometimes the CRA, the government, is nice to us when it comes to little things like that. But the Canadian Dividend Tax Credit essentially is when you receive a Canadian dividend in your non-registered investment accounts. So this is from a Canadian company, so be it TELUS, TD, whatever the case may be, you will have to file this on your tax return in the following calendar year. However, there is a percentage back that you will get almost as like a credit, right, to reduce the taxable liabilities that you have on that dividend income. On the other side, you have the US dividends. If it's a foreign dividend, so US, international, whatever the case may be, there's no dividend tax credit on that. The reason why we do get the dividend tax credit for the Canadian companies is because the Canadian companies, when they pay dividends to their shareholders, this money comes from after-tax earnings. So the Canadian government is essentially saying, we don't want to double tax this money, so the receiver shouldn't have to pay another tax on it when the company paying it has already paid a tax. Capiche? Now here's the big part. How do you find dividend stocks that are good? I love to search on Yahoo Finance. It's one of my favorites. When I was working at the bank as an investment portfolio manager, Morningstar was also another great source for researching dividend stocks. To make things much easier for y'all though, here are 5 of my favorite Canadian dividend ETFs and stocks to build passive income with. And if you're enjoying everything that I am saying so far, please subscribe below so I know to make more videos like this. If not, I'm a human being and I'm going to be very anxious and think that my videos are not good enough because nobody's liking or subscribing. So thank you. Let's get into it. First is Enbridge. I mentioned them before. You may have been paying attention, or maybe I didn't actually mention them because I may have edited that out. However, Enbridge is a beautiful dividend paying stock. They pay about 6% in dividends, which is a lovely rate compared to a lot of companies on the market. Reason why they're able to do this is they have one of the best cash flows on the market compared to banks, other than banks. Why? Everybody has to pay their gas bill every month, so their money's always coming in. They are reliable, they are consistent over the years, have been increasing their dividend. One of my favorite ones. Number 2 is VDY. It is the Vanguard Canadian High Dividend Yield Index ETF, and this focuses on great, solid, high dividend paying Canadian growth stocks. So a lot of them you see there are the banks, the pipelines, the utilities. You have companies like TD, Manulife, Suncor Energy within this ETF. Number 3 is RBNK. It is the RBC Canadian High Dividend Yield ETF, and this one focuses on banks. It is essentially mainly focused on the big 6, so RBC, TD, CIBC, National Bank, and you receive a nice healthy dividend from these Canadian stocks within this ETF, as well as the growth that the Canadian banks gain throughout the time that you invest in this ETF. Number 4 is cash, and this is simple. It's literally just a cash ETF. So a lot of platforms these days don't have high interest savings accounts that you can directly invest in. So if you're investing with, let's say, Wealthsimple or Questrade, you might have some cash in the account that you don't want to invest in just yet. So what I like is Cash.to. It is the global X high interest savings ETF, and it essentially works like a high interest savings account. You put your money into the ETF, you buy it, and you earn dividends every month, and that's about it. So it literally just gives you the benefit of what a high interest savings account would be if you had the same ability to purchase one in the account. So it's a nice replacement when you're using things like Wealthsimple or Questrade, because they don't have high interest savings account to buy directly like TD might have. All right, number 5 is Power Corporation of Canada. POW is the ticker on the TSX. And speaking of Wealthsimple earlier, they are the main owner of Wealthsimple. They also own other financial companies like IGM Financial and Great-West Life. They pay a nice, healthy, consistent dividend. They have been over the last few years, and they are been a very great long-term growth stock to date. So if you're a believer in fintechs and you want some nice healthy dividends within your account, this is also a great one to look at. So to wrap things up, dividends are great if you are looking to build passive income in your long-term portfolio. If you enjoy seeing that notification of, hey, you just got 15 bucks in your account today, dividends are a beautiful place for that. Also keep in mind a few things to know. Remember, the ex-dividend date is an important piece when you're buying a stock for the first time. You want to make sure that you are eligible for that upcoming dividend. Also, another thing, where you put your dividends is an important piece because the taxation is different across the accounts. So keep in mind the rules regarding US foreign dividends as well as the Canadian dividend tax credits. Okay? Feel free to ask me any questions in the comment section about any of the stocks that I've mentioned or ETFs that I've mentioned today for dividend investing. Well, I hope y'all have enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned something today. If you have, let me know what you've learned the most in the comment section, and you have yourself a wonderful evening, morning, day, weekend, long weekend, holiday, whatever day it is. Make it beautiful. Cheers.